Good morning again. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ashley Sklar. I'm the Adult Services and Community Engagement Consultant with the Connecticut State Library, and I appreciate you all taking time this morning to be here with me. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. We are recording. Hopefully you heard that get started. So we'll share that with you afterwards. There are captions available for you at the bottom of your screen if you'd like to use those. And last but not least, questions. If you have questions as we go, please feel free to stick them in the chat. I'll hopefully see them that way. Or if you want to just unmute and ask them out loud, I am happy to have the interruption. So either way works for me. So today I am really happy to be kicking off a brand new series that we've brainstormed and launched here at DLD. It's called DLD Minis. So it's going to consist of a rotating cast of our staff members taking no more than 30 minutes to share with you kind of one focused aspect of DLD. So we're going to kind of pick and choose and highlight different things, share that tool or resource with you, and then hopefully answer questions if you have them along the way. So for the first series, we figured a good place to start is our homepage because that sort of leads you in all the directions that you might want to find at DLD. So I'm going to not share slides, but I am going to share screen and we'll walk through the website together. So let's get us started. All right. Hopefully you're all seeing the landing page of the DLD LibGuides. I should say, LibGuides, if you're not familiar, it's just the platform that we use to host our website. It's very common in library land, so I'm sure you've come across it. But essentially, it allows you to organize everything into sort of guides, LibGuides, that keep kind of information relating to a particular topic together in a set of pages. It makes for ease of organization, I think. So this is our homepage. I'm sure you've seen it many times before. We revamped it. This is newish, I should say. I think we launched this last November because we really wanted to make sure that the information was organized for you for ease of access. So I'm going to just start with this left-hand side menu. So there's the menu, which is kind of all the pages of this particular guide, and then a few key things underneath it. So you can pick your language preference if you want it in a different language. There's our DLD staff directory, which you can drop down and link to any of our staff members. And then, of course, just our physical address and contact information. Excuse me. So looking at this sort of main part of the guide, the main section of the website, we have our welcome. As I'm sure you know, but I'll read it anyway, we are funded by the state of Connecticut and the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library Services and Technology Act. And we provide leadership, funding, education, and statewide services that really hopefully enhance the ability of all Connecticut libraries to deliver high quality library services to their communities. And then as part of our bigger state agency, the Connecticut State Library, we wanted to put in these new vision, mission, and value statement that were part of the strategic framework that the agency announced last year in 2024. So I'm not going to read all of these, but I will drop this link in the chat if you're interested in taking a peek and reading through those. They're hopefully that we put a lot of thought and effort into them. So, and that will also give you access to this guide too, and you can take a look on your own afterwards. So moving on down, we have two sections here at the bottom. So DLD Essentials, you'll see for the most part actually mimics that top left-hand side navigation. So the core services, programs, resources, and then our contact. Right now, we are in library policy season. So we do have this required library policies LibGuide linked right here as it's kind of a focus for us and really for all public libraries at the moment. So below that, we have the DLD quick links. These kind of change a little bit, but there's a few key ones that I think will always live here, and that is finding your DLD liaison. That'll take you to a page where both your liaison's contact information as well as who your assigned liaison is shared the continuing education, this will take you to our calendar where you can register for any of our programs like these. And then we have DLD News, which I'll talk a little bit more about moving on. And then there's just some other things that we like to feature right here on the homepage. So from there, we'll go back up here. I like to use this top left-hand side. Everyone likes to have multiple ways of doing things and finding their way, but core services. So I'm thinking some of these will look familiar to you, but these are the main services that we provide through DLD for public libraries and other libraries as well. And in turn, that serves the public, right, in all of our communities. So just to like really give you the 5-cent version of what each of these is, we have Borrow It, which is a statewide library card, essentially allowing any library card holder to borrow from any other public library in the state. Those materials get returned and travel around through our Deliver It system, our statewide library system, which I always like to give them a shout out because they transport 1.5 million items every year to 215 sites. So they are doing good work. Then we have Ego, which is our statewide e-audio and ebook project, and that's available through the Palace app for public libraries to use and share with their patrons. And then we have Ego Community Share Program, which is essentially that same ebook and e-audio collection shared through the school systems. Down in the second row, we have Find It. That is our statewide library catalog. Libraries upload their materials on a regular basis. And that is the primary resource used to then fulfill Request It, which is the interlibrary loan service that we provide, again, across the state. Next, we have Research at CT, which, as you might expect, is all the databases. Lots of free resources for libraries and schools and students and residents throughout the state. There's so many. And then, of course, the Middletown Library Service Center, where I am sitting currently, or MLSC. We shorthand refer to this as our library for librarians. We have a number of collections here. It's a huge, I would say the biggest one is, of course, youth-oriented, our picture books, but we also have puppets and we have discussion sets and we have kits and large print and lots of good things. So, all right, core services, that's it. Next, I'll jump on over to programs. Well, the core services page, stays pretty consistent. Those core services don't change. Programs is a little bit more active. So there's things here that come and go. It's kind of, will feature sort of like time-based programs and other things, but there's a lot here. Excuse me, I'm not clicking on links. I'm just trying to give you a snapshot because of course we're trying to keep this to 30 minutes with your questions. But I will touch on just a few of them and give you kind of a little brief. So of course, all CT reads, like many of these, this will actually link to a separate website. Sometimes it's a separate LibGuide that will take you to a separate space to have really in-depth information about that program. So I think of this as kind of a sitemap really for the website. So All CT Reads is of course our year-long initiative to promote lifelong reading, learning, and connection. It's for all ages. If you don't know it, I love it. Check it out. Next is our children's and YA services, an incredibly robust LibGuide if you serve this community or work with folks who do, which of course you do. I highly recommend becoming familiar with this source. We have the Connecticut Library for Accessible Books linked here. They are a part of the Division of Library Development. We call them CT Lab for short. They are a network library of the Library of Congress's National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled. It is incredibly wonderful free service that we provide. And so that will take you there to learn more. And they actually have their own site as well. So this will take you to an outside site. Let's see, what else did I want to point out? I will just say there's lots of opportunities, initiatives, grants here. Some things that also tend to live here are some of the things that we do nationally. We do a lot of work with either other state library agencies or some national partners or different grant initiatives. So just to point out a couple of those, the NASA at My Library was a project that occurred a number of years ago that we were involved with. And of course, Transformation for Libraries, the Future School is another national project and partnership that we've been working on for, I think, just over 5 years at this point. So it's always worth kind of popping in here to see what's here, what might be new. All right, we're going to jump on over back to the menu and head on over to resources. So DLD resources, some of these have overlap with things we've seen in other places, but I think really what the resources are about are kind of supporting the behind the scenes work of what our public libraries are doing. And so the links here are really to information to support that. So again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you do have the link. You can always welcome to explore and contact us if you have questions. But I will point out just a few of these to highlight it that I think are kind of primary. So the best practices in Connecticut libraries, this is a really robust tool for some self-evaluation. There's things for advocacy, strategic planning, capital planning, and general library operations. It's definitely worth exploring. I mentioned, of course, our continuing education calendar earlier. That's probably how y'all found this, which is great. Moving on, the Connecticut Libraries Help Center. This is another really robust LibGuide. It is stuffed with things from legal aspects to things for new Connecticut library workers to emergency to preparedness and a whole host of other things. So definitely worth looking at the Help Center, especially if you maybe don't know where to start. That might help point you in a direction. Right next to that is Connecticut Library Statistics. I admit one of my favorite spaces. It's where the annual report is, and it's always wonderful and rich and robust to see into what libraries are doing across our state. And along with that annual report, you find all the supporting resources. So all of the things such as flyers and the chart makers and all that good stuff. So if you like data, come here. And then the DLD and the news, I mentioned that earlier. This will take you to a LibGuide that houses some back issues of our DLD newsletter, as well as our children's and YA newsletter. It has all of the media coverage that we've gotten, organized by year, our press releases, and links to our social media as well. So a good source to know if you sort of are thinking of either signing up for some things in terms of our communications or want to know sort of how what's happened and how we've been covered in media. And then the DLD liaisons, of course, I mentioned earlier. Let's see what else. There's a lot of other things here, and you do see some overlap, right? We do tend to put things in multiple places just in case, somebody might stumble on something like MLSC somewhere else. But lots of stuff here for you. All right, and then the last page is just a contact page. This is a form in case you kind of don't know where to start. We offer this form, you can fill it out, give us as much information, we'll get it to the right person. But of course, you're also welcome to use this DLD staff directory here. You're also welcome to use the DLD liaison map to find, we'll click on that because that will help you. See, now I have to find it, here we go. This will give our contact information and then in a list by libraries of who you want to contact. So if we are not the right person for a particular topic, we will get you to that way. So lots of ways to contact us. That is pretty much what I have to cover with you. It was really intended to be an overview of our only year-old homepage LibGuide that hopefully took all of the things that we had and organized it in a way that makes it a little bit more accessible and easy to find all of the information you need. And of course, if not, we are always here to help. So if you have any questions, I would love to help answer them. And I'll leave this up in case you wanted to see something more closely. But any questions? And if not, that's all right too. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Great. Well, I'll keep just telling you a couple more closing things. And if a question comes up, please interrupt. So DLD Minis, like I said, is new. There'll probably be a couple of these each month. The very next one is next week, and that is on Thursday, August 28th at 10 a.m. And it's called DLD Minis Connecticut Library for Accessible Books, the Application Process. So if CT Lab is something you're interested in learning more about, my colleague Matt Giza, the director of CT Lab, will be presenting that one, really focused on the application process, but really good to know. And then there'll be more coming in September. If you are not signed up for newsletters or weekly wrap-ups, you can now know how to get there and do so. We'll be keeping these all publicized there. And of course, we will share the recording of today's session out, and we'll also, as always, send an evaluation. So if you have feedback is welcome. And if you have ideas for other topics we might cover in these like really short little tidbits of DLD minis, please pop that in there too. We'd love to hear feedback as we get this going, and kind of pass the baton around to all the DLD staff to share. So I'm gonna, let's see, stop sharing. And I will say thank you all for joining me, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. All right, take care.